We're going to take you team by team, division by division, giving out grades on each and every draft, and we turn our attention to the Tennessee Titans. And at the top of this draft, the worst-kept secret in the world came to fruition shortly after. On Thursday, with Cam Ward going first overall, joined by Ryan Wilson and Mike Renner, our draft experts here to give out those aforementioned grades. When you look at Tennessee, we knew what they were doing at 1, but the draft only starts there. Mike, how do they grade out in your eyes beyond Ward?
I love this draft for them. Now, the only thing is maybe they could have gone weapons earlier, but I love that when they did start going weapons, they got a bunch of them. Day 3, Gunnar Helm, the Texas tight end, Alec Aomanor, the Stanford wide receiver, as well as Kamari DK, the Florida wide receiver. A little bit of a speed guy, a little bit of a more physical guy. I like that they threw the kitchen sink at it to give guys that Cam Ward can develop with over the course of his rookie year. But the one that stands out to me, Kevin Winston Jr., the Penn State safety. I didn't think this guy's tape was too dissimilar from the first rounder Malachi Starks and the second rounder Nick Manwari, and he went 40 picks later. He was 35th on my draft board. If he would have been fully healthy, I think he very well could have been a first rounder. Tennessee Titans, they got a steal in my opinion.
Yeah, A+ as well. Mike and I are starting off easy grades. It starts with Cam Ward. You don't mess that up. Kevin Winston Jr. only played 2 games for the knee injury. Came back a month ago and ran a 4.5. So to Mike's point, that feels like a steal as well. And this team feels different. And again, one thing teams have this time of year is hope, because everyone's undefeated. You got the guys that you wanted to get. But Mike talked about the receiver weapons they got. DK plays in the slot, runs 4.4, sub 4.4 maybe, even if I recall correctly. Aomanor is a big target outside. Reminds me a little bit of Anquan Bolden. Maybe that's a rich comp, but we're in the spirit of giving positive comps at this point in the process. So one thing that, you know, for as much as our buddy Pete Prisco loved Will Levis, one thing Will Levis didn't have was weapons. So you're trying to set Cam Ward up for success, so I love this for him.
So top of the draft and top of the class right now, glowing A's here. Our first team of 32 that we're going to run through. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who we take in that division, but also at number 2, and it was a interesting route to get to number 2. They mortgage a bit of the future. That first pick next year belongs to Cleveland, who was in that second overall spot. When you see what they did to go get Travis Hunter and give some weaponry to their quarterback, Ryan, when you look at the 3 days in summation, what stands out to you, Travis and beyond?
Yeah, Travis is where it starts. You're getting 2 for 1, so I understand the compensation feels a little rich. But if it works out 2 for 1, then you feel pretty good about it. And that's the great place to start. You get Wyatt Milam, interior offensive lineman, to bolster that unit. They had some needs there. Bashal Tootin, I love the way he played at Tech. He played much of the season with a knee brace, ran sub 4.4. In the pre-draft process, had some fumbling issues, but in terms of his ability to make guys miss in space, he was second to none. And I'll mention at the end there, you know, I got to end with my guy, LaQuinn Allen. 20 years old, didn't run during the pre-draft process, so that probably means he's not fast, but he plays plenty fast. He had over 60 targets as a receiving back coming out of the backfield in Syracuse, and that's one more weapon they have. In addition to Etienne and Bixby.
I love that James Gladstone, new GM, the 34-year-old guy, came over from the Rams. He said the next day after he drafted Travis Hunter, he's like, I am uniquely qualified to deal with this. This was the strategy when I was in Los Angeles. Mortgage first-rounders when it's for guys who are force multipliers, guys who are making other people around them better. And when you have Brian Thomas Jr. on one side, Travis Hunter on the other side, Trevor Lawrence is the one who's going to look better. Travis Hunter's the guy, oh my gosh, I keep saying Travis Hunter. Trevor Lawrence is the guy who's getting his force multiplied here because he never had, until Brian Thomas Jr. came around, he never had a guy who could get open one-on-one. Like he struggled to get guys who were consistently, when he saw man coverage, I'm going here. Now he has 2 of them at his disposal. I think this Jacksonville Jaguars offense, at minimum, is going to be unbelievably exciting in this Liam Cohen era.
That pass offense gets a plus. It's the pass defense that needs all the help they can get. We'll see how much Hunter we see on that side of the ball. It's going to be a very interesting way to manage all that talent that's coming with the second overall pick. Let's get to Indy here, fellas, because I'm looking at the class, and they check a big box there with Tyler Warren. Falls to them there at 14 in the first round. Probably didn't expect him to be there at that point, or maybe they were hoping that this blue chipper out of Penn State would be there. They then really spread it across all position groupings. When you look at what Indy accomplished, Mike, what jumps off the page at you?
I think the biggest thing that jumps off the page is that they just didn't get a ton of impact guys. And it's not like they had a bunch of needs, right? This is kind of a roster that after free agency, all the money they spent in that secondary, that they kind of didn't have a lot of holes. I think tight end was one of them, and you got Tyler Warren. I think he's a darn good player, but I'm not sure he's necessarily this dynamic #1 sort of target that's going to be going for 1,000+ yards in the NFL. I just don't see that speed, that explosiveness from him to be that guy. And truthfully, if Anthony Richardson's quarterback, he's going to be more valuable in the blocking game than he is in the receiving game. But then after that, I just don't think they took big enough swings. To me, JT Tuimoloau and Justin Wally, I think they're solid players. I don't see those guys ever turning into stars for you. They're more just depth pieces, and you have a full-up edge group. You have a full-up secondary. They may not get much impact out of this class early on.
Yeah, he's hard on the JTT. I love me some JTT.
We're allowed to grade with the red pen as well.
Yeah, I know, 100%. And I'm just giving Mike a hard time because he didn't mention this guy, Riley Leonard, bringing up the rear there. If there's a good fit for Riley Leonard to start from the bottom our way up, it feels like they're the athletic version of the tight end that Shane Steichen wants. Here's what our buddy Rand Carthon said when I asked him on Thursday night, do you need Tyler Warren, quotation marks, given perhaps you could go in another direction, offensive line or whatever, and he said, I would just walk anyone who has questions down the hall and show them Dallas Clark, Marvin Harrison Sr., excuse me, Peyton Manning and Reggie Wayne, of course. I think JTT will be a little bit better. I like Jalen Travis a lot as a depth piece along the offensive line at Iowa State. And we mentioned Riley Leonard. Tim Smith also adds some depth along the defensive line, Senior Bowl invitee there, 5-star out of Alabama. So it's a solid draft. I gave it an A. Mike gives it a B-. I think that's fair.
There was one pick I really liked. Hunter Waller, their 7th rounder out of Wisconsin. I think at minimum, he's a solid box safety and can be a good special teamer for you to get that in the 7th round as a fan.
You use the word depth, and that's where I want to go next here with Houston, because this is an offensive line that was one of the worst in the league and in a long time last year in front of the talented quarterback in C.J. Stroud. They do pick up one piece of offensive line help, but they go with a pair of wide receivers out of Iowa State. Was this best available strategy? Was this need-based? What did you see from Houston?
To me, this is the arms race that is the AFC right now. If you want to win a championship, you better have a darn good offense to get through the likes of Baltimore and KC and Buffalo and Cincy and all these teams that can put up points at a moment's notice. We didn't see that last year in Houston. Some of that, though, was because the wide receiver position wasn't good enough a lot of times. When they got banged up, and Tank Dell, obviously, I don't think after that gruesome injury you can rely on him. This shows me that they want to give him weapons. If your offensive line's bad, you can make up for it if your receivers are getting open early. And getting the Iowa State duo of Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, they are complementary pieces. They were complementary at Iowa State. That's why they both went for almost 1,200 yards this past season. I think they'll be complementary in the NFL. You just add those two to Nico Collins, and this could be, should be, within the next few years, one of the best receiving corps in the NFL.
I agree with that. This isn't a gambling segment, but I've learned some things through the intense scouting I've been doing this draft cycle, Joe. Cowboys draft Tylers, so top of your board. We have Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, Jalen Smith, Jalen Reed, all taken with the Houston Texans.
Very good.
And Mike talked about Jalen and Jaden Higgins and Noel, the duo at Iowa State. And I love the idea. Tank Dell, undersized. Jalen Noel, undersized. Jaden Higgins, Nico Collins. So now you have two big targets out there. And we talk all the time about drafting. Like Mike's guy, Kyle Williams, going to New England, 5'10", plays outside. I would imagine in a perfect world he were 6'4", that'd be much more attractive for Drake May, and we'll get to that. Jalen Smith is an undersized corner, but he had a really good season last year. And one of the things that Mike and I were talking about, he pointed out that I think it was a 3rd-round pick that Houston gave to come back to get Woody Marks, the running back. Good running back, could be a little rich, but we had the same conversation about Will Anderson Jr., overpay or not. Turns out it wasn't overpay, so we'll find out.
Draft expertise and name-alytics you'll also get here
there it is.
on CBS Sports HQ. That wraps the South, and we take a look now at the odds to win the division. The Texans, right around even money to get 3 in a row with their star quarterback and a revamped wide receiver room with the exit of Diggs and the injury to Dell, but a pair of Cyclones on the way in. Texans, your favorites.